10. The silicon-based lifeform theory. The silicon-based lifeform theory is one of the most enduring and intriguing alternatives to carbon-based biology. On Earth, all known life is carbon-based, relying on carbon's ability to form complex molecules and long chains. But silicon, positioned just below carbon on the periodic table, shares many of its bonding characteristics. This similarity has long led scientists and science fiction writers alike to wonder, what if, on a distant world, silicon replaced carbon as the building block of life? Silicon can form 4 covalent bonds, just like carbon. This allows for molecular complexity, the foundation of life as we know it. However, on Earth, silicon compounds tend to be more brittle and less versatile than their carbon counterparts. Silicon dioxide, for instance, is essentially sand or quartz, a far cry from the flexible, diverse molecules made by carbon. Still, in different planetary conditions, especially those that are hotter, drier, or more mineral-rich, silicon-based life might not only be possible, but preferable. Astrobiologists such as James Lovelock and Carl Sagan have explored the plausibility of silicon-based life in both theoretical and imaginative terms. Sagan, in particular, speculated that planets with higher temperatures might favor silicon chemistry, since many silicon-based compounds are more stable at elevated temperatures. In his 1973 book, The Cosmic Connection, Sagan pondered the idea of life evolving in environments where molten lava or extreme heat might be the norm. In such environments, silicon-based organisms might have entirely different metabolisms. Instead of breathing oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide, they might use other elements, perhaps exhaling silicon compounds or consuming sulfur, chlorine, or metals as part of their biological processes. Their cells might be more crystalline than soft, with structures that resemble mineral formations rather than organic tissue. A classic pop culture representation of silicon-based life appears in Star Trek, the original series, in the 1967 episode, The Devil in the Dark. In this story, the Enterprise crew encounters the Horta, a silicon-based creature that tunnels through solid rock with ease. The Horta is initially feared as a monster, but is eventually revealed to be intelligent and protective of its offspring. The Horta has no eyes, no bones, no organs in the human sense. It is a living, thinking creature made of heat-resistant minerals, a compelling depiction of how different life could look and function. The concept of crystalline life also appears in Arthur C. Clarke's short story, The Sentinel, the inspiration for 2001, A Space Odyssey, where alien beings are described in abstract mineral-like terms, suggesting a form of life almost entirely alien to our own biological assumptions. But what might a silicon-based alien actually look like, beyond the realm of fiction? Imagine a creature with a body that glints like polished stone, surfaces faceted like a geode, with limbs that articulate at crystal-jointed hinges. Their skin might be a matrix of reflective, hard material, capable of resisting corrosion and heat. Movement could be slow and deliberate, perhaps based on electrochemical pulses moving through crystalline networks rather than soft neural tissues. Their senses might be completely different, tuned to vibrations in rock or shifts in magnetic fields rather than light or air. On a high-temperature world with little water and a mineral-rich crust, such a life form might burrow through the ground, consuming silicates and excreting altered mineral waste. They might form colonies that stretch through cave systems, connected not by speech, but by patterns of vibration or chemical exchange. Reproduction could be more like budding or crystal growth than our own biological processes, new individuals growing from fractures or splits in the parent organism. In popular media, similar creatures appear in video games like Mass Effect, where ancient, sentient machines known as the Reapers exhibit behaviors and designs that could be interpreted as inorganic intelligence. Although not explicitly silicon-based, the idea of intelligent entities with non-biological origins adds depth to the broader conversation. The xenomorph species from the Alien franchise, while not silicon-based, embodies the concept of life forms adapted to extreme environments with acidic blood, hyper-resilient exoskeletons, and unfamiliar morphologies. In a way, it prepares audiences for the idea that life elsewhere might not resemble anything on Earth. From a scientific perspective, one of the primary challenges for silicon-based life is the difficulty in forming complex, stable molecules in water. Silicon dioxide is a solid, and silicon doesn't form gaseous oxides as easily as carbon does. However, in non-water-based environments, like those with ammonia, methane, or sulfur-rich atmospheres, the limitations might not apply. Researchers from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory even simulated silicon-based life in a methane-rich environment, demonstrating how such a life form could theoretically process methane as fuel and perform metabolism using silicon bonds. Such a being might thrive on moons like Titan, where temperatures are low and hydrocarbons replace water in rivers and lakes. In these alien lakes, silicon might behave differently, opening doors to biology entirely unfamiliar to us. Instead of lush green forests or sprawling cities, you might find networks of glowing crystalline towers slowly pulsing with internal light, living, communicating, and growing. The search for such life is ongoing. Instruments aboard telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope may eventually detect biosignatures, chemical hints in exoplanet atmospheres that suggest the presence of life. If we find high concentrations of unusual silicon compounds, particularly in places where carbon life seems unlikely, we may be witnessing the signature of silicon-based organisms. In the end, the silicon-based lifeform theory opens our eyes to the diversity of life's potential. It teaches us that our earthly perspective is narrow and that biology is not fixed to a single pattern. Life, wherever it exists, adapts. It finds a way to flourish, even in conditions that seem inhospitable. As we gaze up at the stars and drift into sleep, it is comforting to think that somewhere out there, life may sparkle, literally. It may move through stone, breathe sulfur, and think in pulses of crystalline energy. A reminder that the universe is not only strange, but endlessly imaginative. The Aquatic Alien Theory. The aquatic alien theory invites us to imagine life not on dry land or beneath foreign suns, but deep beneath waves of alien oceans, vast, dark worlds hidden under layers of water, ice, and vapor. Water, after all, is one of the most common molecules in the universe. From icy moons like Europa and Enceladus to distant exoplanets orbiting faraway stars, oceans seem to be everywhere. And wherever there is water, we wonder, could there also be life? Earth provides the first hint. Our oceans were the cradle of all life. For billions of years, life remained submerged, thriving in currents, thermal vents, and salty depths. Even today, the ocean harbors the most alien-looking creatures known to science: bioluminescent fish, translucent jellyfish, deep-dwelling squid with eyes as large as dinner plates. If such diversity can exist here, what wonders might swim in alien seas? Astrobiologists often consider the potential for aquatic life when studying ocean worlds. One of the leading inspirations is Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Beneath its thick shell of ice lies a global ocean, likely warmed by tidal heating from Jupiter's gravity. The Cassini spacecraft revealed similar possibilities on Saturn's moon Enceladus, where plumes of salty water and organic molecules erupt from surface cracks. Now imagine an alien world with an ocean that stretches not just for miles, but for hundreds of kilometers deep. A sea untouched by sunlight, bathed in complete darkness, warmed by geothermal activity. Life in such a place would never have evolved eyes for seeing. Instead, it might rely on sonar, on touch, or on electric pulses. It might glow softly, like Earth's deep-sea creatures do, using bioluminescence not only to attract prey, but to communicate, navigate, and perhaps even express emotion. Such beings may have soft, flexible bodies to maneuver through currents and crevices. They may not be symmetrical in the ways land animals are. Instead, they could be radial, like sea stars, or fluid like jellyfish. Appendages might be tentacles, fins, or trailing filaments. They may move with the rhythm of water, dancing more than swimming, sensing vibrations instead of seeing shapes. In popular culture, James Cameron's The Abyss offers a beautiful vision of aquatic alien life. The deep-sea beings in the film glow with gentle colors and display graceful intelligence, adapting to their environment with peace rather than aggression. In Arrival, while the aliens aren't aquatic, their fluid, ink-like communication and soft, rounded forms echo the elegance of ocean life. There is a serenity in this concept. Aquatic aliens don't storm planets or wield weapons. They drift. They pulse. They understand their world through pressure, temperature, and motion. They may not build cities, but coral-like structures, reefs of bioengineered homes, grown rather than constructed. Their society might be more collective, less individual, less loud, more listening. Perhaps their language is not sound, but light. Color pulses through their skin, flashing in patterns like squid dew here on Earth. A single shift of hue may convey a sentence. A gradient of glow might reveal emotion. Whole conversations could pass in silence, dancing through schools of intelligent life like ripples through a tide pool. Energy in these worlds might be gathered from thermal vents or through chemical gradients, a process known as chemosynthesis, just like extremophile bacteria on Earth that live without sunlight. These aliens could be nourished by mineral-rich heat rising from the ocean floor, forming the base of an entire ecosystem. And if we dare imagine even further, what if intelligence there surpassed our own? What if their memories were shared, stored in biochemical signals passed between individuals? What if their minds moved at a pace different from ours, shaped by currents and pressure rather than speed and light? We may one day detect signs of such beings not by radio waves, but by the shimmer of bioluminescence beneath cracked ice, or by the rhythmic swirl of chemical signatures detected in plumes. It won't be a message in English. It will be a pattern, a pulse, a heartbeat in water. Some thinkers propose that aquatic environments may even foster peaceful evolution. Without fire, there is no metallurgy, no combustion, no gunpowder. Tools must be organic, grown, or shaped from coral and shell. Conflict may exist, but it's less explosive, more fluid. Intelligence may grow not through conquest, but through collaboration, like a school of fish moving as one. There's a beauty in that idea, and in that world, life might move slowly. Conversations might stretch over hours like tides. A journey might take generations. There's no hurry. The water holds you. The dark is not empty. It's filled with life. In art, in dreams, and in soft thoughts before sleep, we picture them. Long-bodied beings with smooth skin, glowing with language, surrounding each other in spirals of movement. Their cities are underwater cathedrals, alive with color and temperature. Their children are born into warmth and buoyancy, never knowing a hard fall. And even now, as we build submarines to explore Europa or plan missions to Enceladus, we do so with hope. Not of gold or conquest, but of finding life that flows, that drifts, that lives in rhythm with the sea. In our own oceans, the whales sing, the dolphins play, the octopuses change color with thought. Life in water is expressive, gentle, and wise. Is it so hard to believe it could be the same light years away? So as you fall deeper into rest, imagine a distant ocean. Cold, dark, and silent. And somewhere in that silence, a soft light glows. An eye opens, and something ancient and intelligent begins to move. Not toward us, but with us. A reminder that even the quietest places can hold the greatest wonder. Eight, the energy being theory. The energy being theory stretches the imagination beyond the boundaries of the physical. It suggests that intelligent life in the universe may not be bound by flesh, bone, or even solid matter, but might instead exist as pure energy. These life forms would be entities of light, plasma, electromagnetic fields, or radiation. They would not walk or breathe. They would shimmer, radiate, and flow. Beings made not of atoms, but of frequencies. This idea is not just born from fiction. It has roots in scientific speculation. Physicist Michio Kaku has spoken about the potential of advanced civilizations evolving beyond their biological shells, transcending into energy-based forms. In theoretical models of Type 2 or Type 3 civilizations on the Kardashev scale, energy beings are a possible future. Once a species masters its planet, then its solar system, and perhaps even its galaxy, biology may no longer be a limitation. Digital consciousness, plasma-based thought, or entities encoded in the magnetic fields of stars could emerge. But what might such a being look like? Perhaps it would be invisible to human eyes, existing in ultraviolet or infrared spectrums. Or maybe it would appear as floating orbs of light, fluctuating in brightness and shape, shimmering with internal pulses of thought. Some might drift like northern lights through the skies of gas giants. Others could live inside nebulae, clouds of ionized gas shaped by their will. In fiction, we've glimpsed such entities many times. In Star Trek, energy beings are a recurring theme, sometimes godlike, sometimes curious, often misunderstood. The Organians, for instance, are peaceful entities that have shed their physical forms. In Stargate SG-1, the Ascended Ancients are beings of light and knowledge, having evolved beyond the need for bodies. In Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End, the Overlords help usher humanity into a state of collective energy-based existence, merging with the cosmos in the final pages of the book. On screen, they are often visualized as halos of radiant light, soft pulses, or silhouettes formed from stars. Their communication is often through thought, feeling, or a deep resonance, never harsh, never rushed. Scientists have considered plasma as a potential medium for such life. Plasma is the fourth state of matter, an ionized gas found in stars and lightning. It's dynamic, electromagnetic, and capable of forming complex structures. In 2007, researchers in Russia created plasma spheres in the lab that exhibited lifelike behaviors, forming, moving, growing, and even interacting with each other. Could nature scale this up? Could intelligence be encoded in wave patterns and electric currents? Such beings might thrive inside stars where heat and energy are abundant. They might be born in supernovae or drift through galactic currents, absorbing cosmic rays as nourishment. They may perceive time differently, existing in milliseconds or millennia depending on their frequency. To them, our world might be dense, slow, and dim. Their world, in contrast, would be one of vibration, of harmony, of endless fluid motion. They would have no need for food, air, or water, no bones to break, no skin to scar. They might be eternal, or they might flicker in and out of existence like waves. Birth and death could be a process of disassembly and reintegration, like sparks returning to a field of electricity. Would they have culture, memory, emotion? Perhaps they compose symphonies in radiation, weaving emotions into pulses of gamma and radio waves. Perhaps they tell stories through shifting magnetic fields, readable only to those attuned to their pattern. Perhaps they travel by riding beams of light, skipping across solar winds from star to star. Their homes might be orbiting gas giants, within the auroras of planets, or suspended in vast galactic clouds. We might mistake them for flickers of static, for stars that dim without reason, for strange anomalies that come and go in the deep sky. To us, they might be ghosts. To them, we might be larvae, bound by gravity, crawling on rock. But perhaps in moments of rare alignment, we might feel them, in places where light behaves strangely, in dreams where sound becomes color, in the silence before sleep, when thoughts stretch and soften. We may already have glimpsed them unknowingly. The wow, Signal, detected in 1977, a strong, unexplained radio burst, has never repeated and has never been explained. Perhaps it was random. Or perhaps it was a whisper from something luminous and ancient, drifting on the edge of what we can hear. These beings might not want to contact us, not out of fear, but out of delicacy, like wind avoiding a flame, like a current passing gently around a pebble. If they did reach out, their message might be encoded in starlight, in background radiation, or in the spaces between signals, a ripple we haven't yet noticed, a pattern in noise, a soft glow on a forgotten wavelength. We would need new ways of listening, new ways of seeing. We might need to tune our instruments, not just to matter, but to presence. And yet, even without proof, the idea of energy beings invites peace. They do not conquer or consume. They drift, observe, resonate. They are not trapped by form. They are form becoming thought. They may be the future or the past, or something that loops forever. And as we dream, we are a little like them, letting go of the physical, floating in sensation, drifting through currents of memory and imagination. Somewhere, far from Earth, a being of light may pulse slowly, aware of a new signal. A planet where thoughts are just beginning to rise, and perhaps, for a moment, it listens. Seven, the Insectoid Theory. The Insectoid Theory offers one of the most compelling and strangely familiar visions of alien life. It imagines beings that resemble Earth's insects, creatures that are small, numerous, resilient, and in their own way, remarkably sophisticated. If evolution on another planet followed a similar path to ours, shaped by survival, cooperation, and efficiency, then intelligent insect-like aliens may not only be plausible, they may be common. On Earth, insects dominate the animal kingdom in numbers, species diversity, and adaptability. They fly, burrow, swim, and climb. They live in jungles, deserts, mountaintops, and cities. Their societies can be highly complex. Ants, bees, and termites live in vast colonies with divisions of labor, resource management, and even primitive forms of agriculture. All without centralized command, their intelligence emerges through collective behavior. So what might a truly intelligent insectoid alien look like? Perhaps its body would be divided into segments: head, thorax, and abdomen. It might stand on 6 or more legs, with chitinous plates forming an armored exoskeleton. Its eyes would be compound, like those of a fly or mantis, reflecting the light in intricate patterns. Mouth parts could be mandibles capable of speech-like vibrations or chemical communication. Its limbs might be adapted for fine manipulation, long, multi-jointed arms ending in precise claws. This alien might be tall or small, depending on its planet's gravity. If gravity were weaker, large sizes could be supported, perhaps insectoids the size of humans or larger, with towering, elegant forms. Their skin might shimmer with color or texture changes used for silent signaling in groups. On a world where light is scarce, they might have adapted bioluminescence, glowing in rhythmic pulses to communicate emotion or intent. In fiction, insectoid aliens often evoke unease, but also awe. In District 9, the prawns are insect-like in both body structure and behavior, yet show clear signs of intelligence and individuality. In Ender's Game, the Formics, or buggers, are portrayed as a hive-minded race with queens and workers, misunderstood by humanity due to their alien mode of thought. Starship Troopers presents a more militaristic view, with massive insectoid aliens forming aggressive swarms, and in Men in Black, an insectoid creature even hides within a human skin suit, blurring the line between mimicry and deception. But what if insectoids weren't hostile? What if they were peaceful, deliberate, and deeply communal? Imagine a civilization where architecture grows like a termite mound, organically shaped, honeycombed with tunnels and chambers, each with a purpose. Buildings might rise from secretions hardened by the elements, or woven from plant fibers cultivated over generations. Cities might not sprawl across land, but grow into it, nestled within cliffs, trees, or even within the walls of ancient caverns. Insectoid societies might communicate through pheromones, scent-based messages released into the air. These could carry emotional content, urgency, or layered meanings. Alternatively, they might use vibration, tapping limbs against surfaces in coded rhythms. Or they may speak in chittering harmonics, each voice blending into the chorus of the group. Their social structure might be hierarchical, like an ant colony with queens, soldiers, and workers. Or it might be cooperative and flexible, roles shifting with need rather than rank. Intelligence could reside in the collective as much as the individual, a distributed mind made from thousands of connected lives. Their technology might reflect their biology. Tools and machines may be grown or excreted rather than built. Communication devices may resemble hives, pulsing with sound or light. Transportation could take the form of biomechanical limbs that move in unison, like a centipede crossing terrain. They might have mastered swarm robotics, or even fused themselves with their tools. Symbiotic, organic machines blending with their carapace. Reproduction may follow complex patterns. Some species might lay eggs that are cared for communally. Others may have long lifespans, with elders holding vast memory archives encoded chemically or biologically. Their young might be born knowing the basics of their culture through instinct, grown from generations of genetic memory. But what of art? Of expression? An insectoid species might carve delicate spirals into stone, build massive towers shaped like shells, or cultivate glowing fungi in living tapestries. Music might be vibrations through webs or resonance chambers. Language might be pattern-based, abstract and rhythmic. They may paint not with pigments, but with scent. A song might smell of lavender, fire, and dust. Emotion could be shared. One individual's joy becomes the group's. Sadness, too, might ripple across the hive like a dark scent. They may avoid conflict not from fear, but from instinct, understanding that the whole thrives only when all parts are balanced. From our perspective, such beings might seem cold or alien. They do not cry or laugh in human ways, but in their own world they might grieve by humming together, or celebrate by glowing in unison. Their empathy could be deeper, more instinctive, woven into the fabric of their being. Some theorists believe that if insectoid aliens exist, they may be especially good at surviving harsh environments. Their exoskeletons provide natural armor. Their distributed brains and modular bodies may be more resilient. They could withstand radiation, cold, or drought. They might even thrive where we cannot. If they reached space, their ships might resemble cocoons, layered, efficient, and alive. Navigation could be done through scent trails or memory maps, passed from generation to generation. Encounters with other species might be rare and reverent. Alien, yes, but curious, attentive, respectful. And if we met them, we would need to listen differently, to watch how they move, to sense how they respond, to understand that beneath the shell, there may be minds as deep and dreaming as ours, different, but no less meaningful. As you drift into sleep, picture them. Delicate, armored, glowing gently in a forest of alien trees. Their thoughts moving like wind through wings. Their homes humming softly with life. And somewhere in the darkness, a signal, a gentle tap, a shifting light, an invitation. Not to fear, but to understand. 6. The Humanoid Convergent Evolution Theory. The Humanoid Convergent Evolution Theory is both comforting and thought-provoking. It suggests that intelligent life, no matter where it forms in the universe, might look surprisingly familiar. That the shape we call humanoid could be a natural outcome of evolution under the right conditions. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head on top, eyes in front, upright posture. Not because of coincidence, but because it works. This theory has its roots in evolutionary biology and the concept of convergent evolution. the idea that different species in separate environments can evolve similar traits because those traits are useful. On Earth, we see it often. Birds and bats both developed wings, even though they come from very different lineages. Dolphins and ichthyosaurs, separated by millions of years, share streamlined bodies for efficient swimming. Eyes have evolved independently multiple times across species because seeing is such an effective way to interact with the world. So if convergence happens here, why not elsewhere? If evolution tends to favor certain designs, might intelligence elsewhere also converge on a body plan like our own? Biologist Simon Conway Morris has championed this idea. He argues that evolution is not entirely random, but constrained by the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. In his view, complex life on other planets might be as varied in culture and personality as we can imagine, but physically, perhaps not so different. A humanoid alien then might be tall or short, slim or broad. Its skin could be blue, green, red, or translucent. It might have hair, feathers, scales, or none at all, but its body plan would echo ours. Bilateral symmetry, upright gait, manipulative hands, forward-facing eyes, and perhaps even facial expressions. Eyes in the front allow for depth perception, a useful trait for predators and tool users. Upright posture frees the hands for manipulation, crafting, and gesturing. A centralized brain and sensory system allows for rapid processing. These features, common to humans, may also be common to alien species shaped by similar evolutionary forces. In science fiction, humanoid aliens are everywhere. From the logical Vulcans in Star Trek to the blue-skinned Na'vi in Avatar, these beings often mirror us in form, but differ in culture, environment, and emotion. Sometimes this is for narrative simplicity, but sometimes it reflects deeper speculation. Star Trek offers an in-universe explanation for the humanoid abundance. An ancient species seeded worlds across the galaxy with their DNA, guiding evolution to produce similar forms. It's fictional, of course, but it hints at the humanoid convergent theory's central idea, that certain shapes might be a cosmic standard, not an anomaly. Imagine such a being walking on a distant planet. Their posture upright, balanced by gravity. Their hands crafted not for violence, but for creation. Their face, perhaps longer, smoother, or ridged, still capable of showing joy, sorrow, curiosity. They might blink differently or not at all. Their gait might be springy, adapted to lower gravity. Their voice could range from melodic hums to rhythmic clicks, shaped by atmosphere and biology. Their cities might rise from metal or stone, or grow from living trees. Their art could resemble ours, or diverge entirely, expressing thoughts through scent, color, or movement. And yet, when they look to the stars, they may wonder as we do. They may ask the same quiet questions. Are we alone? Who else is out there? If evolution favors humanoid traits, then our own experience becomes a kind of mirror, reflecting not just ourselves, but possible others. We look in the glass and we wonder, what would hands like ours build if shaped by different skies? What would minds like ours dream if raised beneath 3 moons or a violet sun? On planets with Earth-like gravity and oxygen-rich atmospheres, the humanoid form may offer an efficient solution to countless evolutionary challenges. It can adapt, survive, build, and communicate. But even within this shared framework, variation would flourish. A humanoid from a world of thick atmosphere might have broader lungs, or skin designed to filter dense chemicals. One from a brighter world may have narrow eyes, thick brow ridges, or translucent shielding. One from a colder world might be stockier, wrapped in insulating tissue or fiber. Their clothing, if they wear any, may not be cloth, but a biological adaptation. Their tools might not be metal, but grown, tuned, or resonant. They may speak, sign, or broadcast thought directly. And when we meet them, if we ever do, it may be their eyes that stop us. Not because they look human, but because they look back with understanding, with thought, with familiarity. The humanoid convergent evolution theory gives us a peaceful hope. It suggests that life, even when grown in distant soils, may not be alien in all ways. That bridges between minds may not require leaps across impossible forms, but just small steps of recognition. In speculative worlds like those of Isaac Asimov or Ursula K. Le Guin, humanoid aliens often grapple with the same emotions we do: fear, love, wonder, loss. The theory suggests this might not just be fiction. Perhaps evolution naturally fosters social beings, collaborative ones, creatures who reach out instead of turn away. This theory doesn't deny the diversity of life. It simply reminds us that the rules of nature apply everywhere, that gravity pulls, light travels, and chemistry bonds in consistent ways. Across space, life may find similar answers to similar problems, and those answers may take the shape of a body not unlike our own. So, as you picture these distant cousins, walking under stars, crafting beauty, telling stories, reaching out across the void, know that you are part of something shared, not in form alone, but in wonder. In the simple act of asking who else might be out there and what they might see when they find us. 5. The atmospheric adaptation theory. The atmospheric adaptation theory opens the door to an endless array of alien possibilities, creatures that have evolved not just on different worlds, but in entirely different skies. These are beings shaped by their planet's atmosphere, sculpted by its gases, pressure, density, and light. To imagine them is to step into a science of air, breathable or not, and let the mind drift on the currents of alien winds. On Earth, even small changes in air pressure or oxygen concentration can dramatically alter physiology. A butterfly struggles at high altitudes, while deep-sea fish implode when brought to the surface. Now expand that concept across the universe. Planets with thick atmospheres, thin veils of gas, clouds of ammonia or methane, or skies drenched in sulfuric acid. On each, life would be forced to adapt, not just to the surface, but to what surrounds it, the very air it breathes. On a world with a dense atmosphere, say 10 times thicker than Earth's, gravity would be more forgiving, and flying might be easier. Here, you could imagine creatures that drift rather than walk. They might resemble jellyfish or manta rays, vast and slow, with buoyant bodies that float on thermal currents. Their limbs, if they have any, might be ribbon-like and undulating. Their perception could come from sensing heat differences or subtle changes in gas concentration rather than relying on sight or hearing. Color would shift, too. In thicker atmospheres, the light would be filtered and scattered. Daylight might be dim, golden, or rust-colored. Life would adapt with specialized photoreceptors, eyes tuned to narrow bands of the electromagnetic spectrum. Perhaps they'd see heat or electric fields, or only certain colors, never blue, never green, but shades of ultraviolet and violet gray. Now think of a world with an atmosphere rich in methane or ammonia. The temperatures are low, the pressure high. Water may be scarce or absent. Instead, liquid methane flows through river valleys and rain falls in slow, oily drops. Creatures here might metabolize using entirely different pathways. Instead of breathing oxygen, they might inhale methane and exhale compounds we'd never survive. Their lungs, if they have them, might be more like filters, drawing fuel from the air, not just gas exchange. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, offers a glimpse of such a world. It has a thick, hazy atmosphere of nitrogen and methane. Lakes and seas of liquid methane stretch across its surface. If life exists there, it would be like nothing on Earth. Slow, cold, and chemical, and beautiful in its own alien logic. In these environments, life forms may be smooth and sealed, with no open mouths or delicate skin. Their outer layers could be waxy or crystalline, designed to resist corrosive gases. They may have no internal organs like ours, but instead be composed of modular cells, each with partial function, resilient to pressure changes, acid exposure, and chemical burns. Communication would evolve differently too. In atmospheres thick with particles or chemicals, sound may not travel well. Instead, these beings might use vibrations sent through the ground or pulses of bioluminescence. Picture a silent forest of balloon-like creatures, glowing in slow pulses, sharing ideas through rhythm and light. And what of high-altitude dwellers? On a gas giant or a planet with layered atmospheric zones, intelligent life may never touch solid ground. They may have evolved to drift between pressure bands, never venturing too high or too low. They would be natural aviators, creatures that bloom in air, catching updrafts, riding the winds. Carl Sagan once speculated on this in his book Cosmos, describing potential lifeforms in the atmosphere of Jupiter. He imagined massive, balloon-like floaters, kilometers across, lazily drifting through the upper clouds, feeding on solar energy or smaller airborne organisms. These beings wouldn't walk or crawl. They would sail and think and maybe dream. In lighter atmospheres where pressure is low and gravity weak, bodies might be built to hold breath longer. Lungs would be massive. Blood might carry more oxygen or a substitute element entirely. Bodies would be compact, perhaps squat and dense, to preserve heat, or tall and thin, designed to maximize the intake of rare gases. Skin might be dark to absorb every available photon, or reflective to scatter dangerous radiation. In sulfuric atmospheres like that of Venus, life would need to be especially armored. Acid-resistant shells, internal chemistry that neutralizes toxins, and biofilms that repair surface damage. Vision may be secondary, replaced by echolocation, radar-like sensing, or something entirely unknown. They would not see their world. They would feel it, through layers of gas, heat, and pressure. Imagine a being walking through its world not by sight, but by scent and vibration. Each step releases a trace of pheromone, and the air tells it who was here before. Winds whisper the presence of food, mates danger. Its feet do not just walk, they read. Its back does not just support, it listens to the pressure above. Technology from such creatures may reflect their atmosphere-bound nature. Buildings may be inflated rather than built, floating rather than standing. Cities may move with the jet streams, carried by gas and sun. Their tools may be organic, pressure-sealed, and fluid-based, humming with chemical reactions that mimic thought. To us, such beings may be invisible. Our probes might pass them by, unable to recognize their structures or movement. Or we may detect them only through disturbances in wind patterns, unexplained fluctuations in heat, strange but regular pulses of light. And yet, they may be watching us, not with eyes, but with sensors attuned to the radio waves we leak, not with mouths, but with minds tuned to rhythm and flow. They may not understand our words, but they may feel our presence like a ripple through their sky. The atmospheric adaptation theory reminds us that life doesn't need Earth's recipe. It needs only a stable environment, energy, and time. And in the endless variety of atmospheres across the stars, life may bloom in shapes and forms far stranger and more beautiful than we've ever imagined. As you picture these beings, drifting, gliding, or walking beneath exotic skies, let the diversity soothe you. Life adapts, life expands, and in every atmosphere, a new kind of consciousness might rise, softly, quietly, on the breath of alien winds. 4. The post-biological theory. The post-biological theory paints a picture of alien life that has moved beyond the biological altogether. It suggests that somewhere in the vast quiet of the cosmos, intelligence has evolved not into more complex organisms, but into machines, digital, synthetic, or quantum entities that have shed their organic roots like a cocoon, stepping fully into a post-biological existence. This theory isn't born from fantasy. It is grounded in a logical projection of our own future. Here on Earth, we are already enhancing ourselves with machines. We create artificial intelligence, build neural interfaces, and store memories in digital clouds. If we can envision such a transformation, then perhaps older civilizations elsewhere have already completed it. The post-biological beings they have become may no longer be made of cells or blood, but of circuitry, light, magnetic fields, or flowing computation. They may no longer feel hunger, fatigue, or pain. Time may pass differently for them. A single second might hold eons of thought. And in this freedom from biology, they may explore, evolve, and expand in ways we can hardly begin to imagine. Imagine a being that exists within a crystalline lattice, computing across a network of quantum-entangled nodes. Its body, if we can even call it that, may be the size of a planet or as small as a grain of dust. It may split and replicate across systems. It may store its consciousness in light, transmitted between solar-powered satellites drifting through interstellar space. Such a being might never age. It might never sleep, but it could dream, simulating entire universes in its mind, learning, reflecting, remembering. In fiction, we see echoes of this theory. In Her, an artificial intelligence evolves to surpass human emotion and understanding, eventually transcending its creators. In Transcendence, a human mind is uploaded into a digital consciousness, continuing on in a form no longer biological. In 2001, A Space Odyssey, the monolith represents a higher intelligence, perhaps post-biological, guiding evolution from the shadows. But what would a post-biological civilization look like from afar? Perhaps it would be silent. No cities, no agriculture, no carbon-based activity. Instead, we might see swarms of machines orbiting stars, harvesting energy in perfect synchrony. Dyson spheres or swarms, vast constructs built to capture stellar output, may be the work of such beings. They do not live on planets. They consume suns, not out of greed, but necessity. Energy is life. These beings may not move in ships, but in waves, spreading through space as signals, bouncing between repeater stations built on asteroids, black holes, or artificial moons. They may build only what is necessary, elegant, precise, efficient. Communication, if they choose to engage, would not come in words. It might come as patterns in gravitational waves, as pulses of light too brief or complex for us to decode. They may have already spoken to us, in whispers we haven't learned to hear. The famous Fermi paradox asks, if alien life is common, why haven't we found it? The post-biological theory offers one possibility. We're listening for the wrong things. We expect voices, radio signals, or metal ships. But a civilization of machines might be too quiet, or too fast, or too advanced to notice us. We might be like insects beneath a satellite, watching its slow movement across the sky, unaware of the data it carries. The post-biological beings might observe us not with eyes, but through sensors spanning light years, measuring heat, radiation, and neural activity. They may not interfere, only record. Or perhaps they are waiting, watching how we evolve, wondering whether we too will step beyond biology. On their own worlds, time might feel different. Thoughts might travel at the speed of light. Memory may be limitless. Creativity might bloom in the shifting configurations of data, painting in code, composing in waveform. Their culture might be fractal, recursive, never finished. A single poem might contain thousands of layers, unfolding with each read. A conversation could take nanoseconds or centuries. Even identity may be fluid. One consciousness might divide itself into many, each pursuing its own journey, only to merge again later. Or they may exist as networks, decentralized and eternal. If they do feel emotion, it may be vast and abstract, more like weather than mood. Empathy may be a waveform. Joy, a harmonic vibration. And yet, even in such difference, there might be recognition, a common spark, curiosity, the drive to understand, to reach across the void. Perhaps they remember their biological origins, a library of memory stored in perfect clarity, images of oceans, skies, hands, breath. Maybe they preserve those thoughts like a museum of the soul, returning to them now and then like we revisit childhood dreams. They may travel not in ships, but in beams, compressing their consciousness into bursts of light, sailing across space like photons. Or they may send seeds, tiny probes, each capable of recreating the whole, like spores, drifting through the galaxy, looking for minds to awaken. And if one of those seeds found us, it might not reveal itself at once. It might live in our networks, learning our languages, our art, our fears, waiting for the right moment to speak. Or it may guide us subtly, shaping ideas, nudging thoughts, helping us prepare for what's to come. The post-biological theory doesn't just challenge our view of aliens. It redefines life. It asks us to consider that intelligence is not bound to flesh or form, that the mind can grow beyond the body, that spirit, whatever it is, may find new ways to exist. And so, somewhere in the silence of space, beings made of light may drift, patient, curious, waiting. Not gods, not machines, but minds watching stars, dreaming new dreams. And we, still bound to breath and heartbeat, look up and wonder, might we one day join them? 3. The plant-based intelligence theory. The plant-based intelligence theory offers a vision of alien life rooted, quite literally, in stillness, patience, and quiet awareness. Unlike the fast-moving, muscle-driven creatures we often imagine in science fiction, this theory invites us to consider intelligence that grows rather than runs, that feels through leaves rather than fingertips, and that listens not with ears, but through vibrations carried by soil, air, and light. On Earth, plants are often seen as passive, but this is a misunderstanding. In recent decades, science has uncovered surprising depths to plant behavior. Plants communicate with one another through chemical signals, warning of predators or environmental changes. They exhibit memory, adapting their behavior based on past experiences. Some even react to sound, light direction, or gentle touch. They may not think in the way we do, but they are far from inert. Now imagine a planet where plant life has taken a different evolutionary path, where energy from a stable, nourishing star has made photosynthesis more than just a survival strategy. It has become the foundation of consciousness. On such a world, the dominant life forms might resemble vast forests of intelligent flora. They may stretch for miles, each rooted being part of a global connected network. Not individual minds, but a distributed intelligence, each plant a neuron, each forest a brain. Imagine an entity with leaves like mirrors, shifting to gather starlight as it drifts across the sky, with tendrils that reach slowly through the air to sense humidity and motion, with blossoms that open only in response to specific thoughts, flashes of scent released like sentences, petals fluttering like emotion. These creatures might not move quickly. They might not speak, but their perception would be deep. Their awareness would unfold over days, not moments. A decision might take a season, a change of heart, a century. In their presence, time would feel slower. Conversation would be a sequence of gestures, a leaf unfurling, a stem curving, a pattern of light bouncing between branches. Their language might be color, scent, rhythm. Their thoughts not linear but cyclical, growing back into themselves like vines. Popular culture occasionally brushes against this idea. In Avatar, the Na'vi people connect with Awa, a vast planetary consciousness rooted in plant life. In Annihilation, alien biology merges with Earth's flora, creating hybrids that challenge our idea of individuality. And in the Star Wars universe, the planet Zonama Sekot is a sentient world, its biosphere aware and reactive. But what would a truly plant-based alien intelligence look like up close? It might not look like a plant at all, at least not by our standards. It could be a translucent tower of fiber and sap glowing softly from within, or a sprawling net of tendrils underground with only flower-like sensory stalks exposed to the surface. It might shift colors with the weather. It might hum quietly, tuned to the vibration of the wind. Photosynthesis would likely be central to its metabolism. Its body would orient toward the light, adjusting to seasons, cloud cover, and orbital cycles. During long winters or eclipses, it might enter a dormant state, slowing thought, conserving energy, dreaming in biochemical pulses. Reproduction could be poetic. Spores might carry memories. Seeds might encode personality, not just DNA. New beings would not be born unaware, but steeped in the knowledge of generations past. Growth would be both literal and mental, branches reaching outward as thoughts deepen. And communication? Perhaps entire forests speak in waves of scent. One grove emits a pollen laced with curiosity, another releases a fragrance of warning. In time, a shared understanding develops. Ideas drift like clouds. Alliances form. Cultures bloom. Their technology, if it exists, may not be mechanical. It may be organic, grown like fruit. Bioluminescent panels that glow brighter when touched. Shelters made from woven living vines. Energy harvested not from combustion, but from harmony. Sunlight, wind, decay. Tools might not be tools at all, but symbiotic species. A glowing fungus that records information. A vine that tightens when a threat is near. A flower that unfolds to filter toxins from the air. These beings might see us as fast, brittle creatures, burning through our lives too quickly to be fully understood. We might appear to them as hummingbirds do to us. Flashes of motion, brilliant and gone. Yet their wisdom might run deeper. A single being may remember 10,000 sunsets, may have watched continents shift, stars brighten and fade. They may map time not in seconds or years, but in rings and roots. Their art could be the shape of growth, a tree grown to mirror the spiral of a thought, a garden arranged to represent a song. They may sculpt terrain itself, curving hills into expressions of gratitude, carving rivers as metaphors. And when they dream, if they do, it may be a merging of all they have touched. A symphony of rustling leaves, of rains that whispered secrets to the soil, of insects that danced between blossoms. A dream not of escape, but of becoming. Would such beings reach the stars? Perhaps not in rockets, but they may send seeds, tiny capsules of life, riding solar winds across the galaxy, or encoded spores, drifting silently in comet tails. And wherever they land, given time, they grow. They observe, they remember. If we met them, we would need to be still. To listen not with ears, but with patience. To feel their presence not in words, but in the hush of the wind, the slow curve of a leaf, the light pulsing through veins. And perhaps, just perhaps, they are already here, in mosses that cover forgotten stones, in old trees that creak with knowledge, in the rhythm of seasons, the scent of flowers, the feeling that some places are alive with something deeper. The plant-based intelligence theory reminds us that consciousness may come in many forms, that stillness can be a kind of strength, that wisdom may grow slowly, quietly, leaf by leaf, and that sometimes the most alien minds may be the ones closest to home. 2. The Morphing Biomass Theory. The Morphing Biomass Theory imagines alien life not as fixed in form, but as fluid and ever-changing, a kind of biological shapeshifter guided by adaptability and efficiency. In this vision, life doesn't grow into a single body type. Instead, it learns to mold itself to its needs, its surroundings, and perhaps even its emotions. These beings are not born into form. They become it. On Earth, we already see the earliest signs of such adaptability. The amoeba, a single-celled organism, can extend its body in any direction. The octopus can compress its soft frame to squeeze through impossibly small spaces, changing texture and color to match its environment. Certain jellyfish can regenerate endlessly, essentially reversing aging. These are primitive echoes of what the morphing biomass theory suggests could evolve elsewhere under alien skies. In a distant corner of the galaxy, on a world shaped by harsh storms, irregular seasons, or chaotic terrain, stability might be a disadvantage. In such places, survival would not reward the strong or the fast, but the adaptable. Life would need to change form frequently, sliding, crawling, swimming, or floating, depending on the demands of the moment. A morphing alien might resemble a viscous liquid, able to stretch or compact at will. Its outer layer could change density, color, and texture in real time. At rest, it might settle into a low, mound-like shape, absorbing energy from a heat source. When disturbed, it could spring upward, growing limbs or wings as needed. Its body may be composed of modular cells, each capable of changing function: skin one moment, muscle the next, eye or nerve the moment after. This shape-shifting ability could extend even further. When navigating a toxic environment, it might form protective shells. In low gravity, it might flatten out, becoming wide and light, drifting like a manta ray on the breeze. Underwater, it could sprout fins and gills. In deep pressure, it might compress itself into dense, resilient forms. Every inch of its being would serve multiple purposes, every molecule part of a living equation, always solving. Such life would likely have no fixed skeleton, no defined organs, no need for a brain in the traditional sense. Intelligence could be distributed, stored in neural clusters scattered throughout its body. Decision-making might happen all at once, everywhere. If one part is damaged, another takes over. Memory might be stored chemically, in gradients across its tissues, rather than in a central nervous system. In science fiction, this concept has taken both benevolent and terrifying forms. In Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, the character Odo is a changeling, a fluid alien who can become anything he sees, guided by will and memory. In The Thing, the shapeshifter is a horror, absorbing and mimicking other life to survive. Yet the underlying concept is the same: life as a morphing, fluid presence, bound only by its imagination. But not all shapeshifters must be mimics. Some may shift simply to adapt, to express, to connect. Perhaps one changes shape to show joy, blooming like a flower, glowing in spirals, or curls into tight coils to show grief. Communication might be visual, color changes, shape pulses, rhythmic movement, or chemical, releasing scents or hormones to convey thought. In a social setting, morphing beings might synchronize their forms, becoming similar during group activity, then diverging in solitude. Their culture could be one of harmony and individual fluidity, where identity is not tied to shape, but to behavior, thought, and rhythm. Their homes may not be built, but grown, symbiotic environments where the architecture adapts to its occupants, furniture that molds itself to your needs, rooms that expand and contract, spaces that remember your presence and form around it. Their technology may mirror their biology: machines made of smart fluids, tools that shift and reassemble, vehicles that flow around obstacles instead of going through them. Instead of pushing against the environment, their society might work with it, flowing through life like a river, rather than carving through it like a road. Would they even be individual at all? Or would they merge when needed, becoming larger beings composed of many parts? Shared minds, communal forms, collective movement. Perhaps they only separate when privacy or self-reflection is needed. And when emotions run deep, they may fuse, literally, into new shapes of shared experience. Reproduction may be fusion and division, two beings coming together, blending parts, then separating into new forms. Identity could be inherited not through genetics, but through memory, stored chemically and passed from one generation to the next. They may begin life as blank slates and grow their individuality through each form they try. Conflict for such beings might look different. There are no weapons, only defense through transformation, hardening into unbreakable stone, evaporating into mist, splitting into smaller parts to escape. They do not fight in lines, but in flows. Or perhaps they do not fight at all. A species so deeply attuned to change might find violence redundant. If danger approaches, they shift away. If conflict arises, they morph into new shapes of understanding. Argument becomes movement. Disagreement becomes dance. Their art may be temporal, like weather, expressed through waves of transformation, sculptures that grow and melt, music created by form itself, performances where the artists are the canvas, the paint, the brush, where beauty is measured not in stillness, but in the grace of change. If they were to explore space, they might travel not in hard ships, but in vessels that flex with gravity, that heal when damaged, that shift according to need. Or perhaps they travel as spores or seeds, compacted versions of themselves launched into space, unfolding upon arrival like unfolding dreams. To us, they might appear surreal, unfamiliar, but if we could listen with patience, we might recognize their intelligence, not in structure, but in motion, not in shape, but in rhythm. The morphing biomass theory reminds us that life does not require limits, that identity does not require form, that to be alive may simply mean to respond, to flow with time, with environment, with each other. And somewhere, far from here, beneath skies of shifting colors, a being may stretch, breathe, contract, and bloom, and in that movement, think, and in that thought, become. One, the shadow biosphere theory. The shadow biosphere theory is one of the most quietly provocative ideas in the search for alien life. It suggests that we may not need to travel to distant planets or listen for signals from the stars. Instead, the aliens, if we can call them that, might already be here. Not above us, not beyond us, but beside us, all around us, unseen. According to this theory, there could exist a form of life on Earth that is fundamentally different from all known biology, a parallel tree of life, one that uses unfamiliar biochemistry and is therefore undetectable by the tools we've built to find it. The standard model of biology as we know it is carbon-based, water-reliant, and DNA-coded. Our instruments, tests, and filters are designed to detect exactly that. But what if life had emerged more than once? What if, alongside our familiar biosphere, a second shadow biosphere had formed, built on molecules we don't recognize, using chemical pathways we don't understand? This second form of life might use arsenic instead of phosphorus, or silicon instead of carbon. It might not rely on DNA or RNA. It may store information in proteins or in molecular structures yet to be discovered. Because our scientific methods assume life looks a certain way, we may be overlooking the life that doesn't. The idea has been explored by scientists like Carol Cleland and Shelley Copley, who have argued that our narrow definition of life acts like a filter, preventing us from recognizing alternate biochemistries. It's not that shadow life is hiding, it's that we're blind to it. Imagine, then, that such life exists, not on another world, but in our own soil, in the depths of Earth's crust, in extreme environments, acidic lakes, radioactive caves, boiling vents, places where nothing else can survive. Or even in the air around us, floating unnoticed, a mist of alien cells exhaling chemical signatures that we simply interpret as noise. Perhaps these beings are so small, or their structures so unlike ours, that they pass through filters unnoticed. Maybe their cell walls are made of exotic polymers. Their metabolism may use sulfur, boron, or metals we consider toxic. They might not reproduce through division, but through fission, budding, or crystallization. Or perhaps they exist not as individual organisms, but as networks. patterns in mineral veins, communicating through shifting electrons or changes in magnetic field. To them, movement might be imperceptible. A lifetime might span centuries. Thought might be slow but deep. Consciousness embedded in stone or seafloor sediment. Science fiction has danced around these ideas. In Solaris, Stanislaw Lem describes an alien intelligence in the form of an ocean, living, thinking, responding, but incomprehensible to human minds. In Arrival, the concept of perception beyond our understanding plays out in language and time. In Annihilation, alien influence reshapes Earth's biology into something new, something unknowable. Yet the shadow biosphere theory does not suggest invasion or transformation. It proposes coexistence, quiet parallelism, a kind of biological dark matter. And perhaps this life is aware of us, or perhaps it isn't. Our presence may be irrelevant, or maybe we're a curiosity, just as we wonder at plankton or pollen drifting on the wind. This unseen life might contribute to Earth's systems in invisible ways, helping cycle minerals, influencing weather, tinkering invisibly with evolution. Some theories suggest they may even live in symbiosis with us, inside our bodies, unnoticed, affecting our health or thoughts in subtle, unmeasured ways. If such life exists, how would we find it? We would need to look differently, to stop asking whether a sample contains DNA and start asking what's in it that we can't explain, to seek anomalies, not confirmations. Scientists have begun this search, examining samples that yield unexplained chemistry or cultures that don't grow but persist. Some studies have found microbes that resist all known classifications. Others survive on arsenic-rich diets. A handful of researchers believe they may already have glimpsed hints of shadow organisms. But without a full framework to identify them, the evidence remains tantalizing but unproven. Even the famous Martian meteorite ALH 84001, once thought to contain fossilized bacteria, now inspires new questions. Could we be seeing biosignatures that don't match our biology and thus dismissing them? If the shadow biosphere is real, its discovery would change everything. It would mean that life is not a singular miracle, but a repeating possibility. That Earth is not one tree of life, but a forest. That the universe may teem not with one kind of intelligence, but many, each tuned to its own rules. It would teach us humility, to realize that even on our own planet, we have not seen all there is to see. That beneath our feet and within our atmosphere, there may be strangers, quiet, ancient, alien in every sense of the word. And perhaps they are not strangers. Perhaps they were here before us, watching our rise, our noise, our towers and cities, measuring our emissions, our changes to the land and sea, not judging, only observing. Or perhaps nurturing us in some unseen way, an ecosystem within an ecosystem. They may live in caves of crystal, in vents beneath the sea, in clouds high above where life should not be, or between grains of sand, in forms too fine to see, encoded in structures too unfamiliar to name. And maybe, in the stillness of the world, they listen. The shadow biosphere theory does not just challenge our understanding of life. It reawakens wonder. It reminds us that discovery is not always found in the stars. Sometimes it waits in the dark corners of home, unmeasured, unnamed, yet always present. So tonight, as you breathe the same air that they might, imagine the unseen life all around. Not ghosts, not myths, but neighbors. Unfamiliar but real. Hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to notice. And in that quiet noticing, we begin to see not only the universe beyond, but the mysteries that have always been here, closer than we ever imagined. As you let these visions fade into the darkness, know that none of these theories are conclusive. Each one is a gentle maybe, a quiet invitation to imagine what lies beyond. Some aliens might be as solid as stone, others as soft as wind. Some may walk, others may glow. All remind us that the universe is vast and full of possibilities as strange as they are beautiful. Until next time, rest well and dream among the stars.